afternoon secondary team. I'm Nicole. I'm one of your facilitators for this afternoon. I'm just going to kind of monitor the chat here for just a sec. Yes, so if your screen looks like mine, I'm going to do a couple of shout outs when I see your screen looking the way I've placed that it should look in the chat. So in the chat, I kind of gave a little bit of instruction of how you change your, of what the expectation is around your square. So all I need you to do is rename yourself to your first name. I did first name, last initial, or just first name. And in parentheses, how you racially identify. So you would use the letter W if you identify as white, and you would use the letters POC if you identify as a person of color. This is for you to identify yourself. If you are white passing, but you are a person of color and you identify as a person of color, then you would put POC in your parentheses, okay? So just to clear up any confusion, and I'll explain a little bit in a minute why this is important, but we're just normalizing discussions around race and racial identification the same way we have with gender, right? Same way we have with our pronouns. We're just normalizing the discussion. In order for us to get used to it, we gotta be uncomfortable first. This is not meant to ostracize you or out you in any way, but as we engage in race-based affinity work, it's important that we show up as our authentic selves and put forward how we racially identify so we can group you appropriately. While you do that, I am going to be working on our breakout rooms. Okay, you may feel free to unmute yourselves and chit chat and talk. This is not class. You can feel free to say hi to one another, say hey to us, chat, use our chat feature. Hello, Earl, it's good to see you. Hi, Elena. Emily, hi Ruth. I know we're trying to get our names changed, so I get it. While you're doing that, I'm gonna be pre-assigning you to breakout rooms based on your racial identification. So when we get into that part of the facilitation, if you identify as white, meaning you have a W in your screen, like Rebecca G has, like Judy H has, or Ryan G has, or Maria F has, those are great examples. You're gonna be in an affinity space together. And if you have a POC like I do, or like Earl does, then you and I are gonna be in a facilitation, a space a little bit later together. So this is gonna help us break out into breakout spaces. If you don't have anything identified, then when we break out into affinity space, you're gonna stay right here in this home Zoom room, and you're just gonna look at a black screen. And then later we can talk to our administrators about how we do PD. This is what we're doing for PD, so you need to identify yourselves so that we can put you in 2 groups. I'm gonna close that, say manually, close that out. Okay. Okay, it's working out pretty good. So y'all not gonna unmute, y'all just gonna stay muted. That's how y'all gonna do us this morning? That's what it is? Okay. Okay, I was getting ready to say, cause y'all not but down the street, okay? I can come over there.
Hey,
in your classroom.
Everyone.
What's up with it?
Don't do us like that now. Okay. If you need help, please, you can raise your hand. I can help you, I can rename you. I just don't wanna do that for you unless you ask me to. So Scott, I see you. Let me go ahead and help you out.
Thanks, Nicole.
You're welcome. Thank you for trusting me with that. I appreciate it. Hi, babies. I got my students walking in. Let's see, Scott, where'd you go? There you are.
Find it?
Yep, I did.
Okay.
You got blue bubble,
shout out
iPhone Life. I see it.
Yeah.
Scott B. No shame to the green bubbles. If you got an Android, I'm not gonna judge you. I might judge you a little bit. I call them green bubbles because it's just green bubbles.
I can handle it.
Scott B, I got you done. Wes, you need help? All right, let me find Wes G. Wes G, that sounds like a a good artist. West G. Let me find West G. Hold on.
That's
Where's
my
West
stage
G
name
at?
too.
West
Let's
G. West
offer
G.
a little bit of instructions too for those who are on a computer that can do this. In your little picture of if you hover over your own photo, there's 3 dots in the upper right-hand corner. That's where you can go and rename.
West G, I found you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Got it done. All right. Anybody else? Okay. Bev says, cannot see the 3 dots. Bev, do you want to drop how you racially identify in the chat, my dear? And I can help you out with that. Somebody said, I didn't know we could have 136 people in the Zoom. Look at Park Rose. We just, increasing bandwidth. Now listen, the Wi-Fi, we're not going to talk about it, okay? We're not going to talk about it, team. But yeah, I did this when I scheduled this particular one. I scheduled it as a webinar, which means you can have more attendees. But then I went back and switched it to a meeting because then you can have about 300 to 500 without having to make them panelists. So we're just trying it out. Please let me know if there's anybody in a waiting room, but they shouldn't be. Okay, they took some caps off for education. They had to bend, and they wanted this good money, so they had to do what they had to do. I'm not mad. I'm not seeing my name. Okay, hold on. Let's see. Just give us a second, right? Wait time is important. Okay. Packy, I found, but you did it. Okay, all right. Packy, you did it though. You may not see your name, but it looks perfect on my screen. We're gonna give it just one more minute. I don't know if I see a Joyce Brown. I don't know if that's Mama Joyce from my community. Joyce,
yes.
Mama Joyce.
Hey, Dave.
And I can't cuss now because my mama owns. You know how we do in the community? You got to keep your language under wraps. So I'll spell out my curse words.
That's respect. That's
yes,
respect.
ma'am.
Hey, sweetie.
Yes, ma'am. Mama Joyce, did you get your, okay, so you did your name. You got it already. Okay. All right. I'll be messaging you privately, but I'm going to go ahead and get us started. But if you need some help, please don't hesitate to message me.
Well, I see one more real quick. It's Sieben Ben, SIEBEBEN, and it should be Ben W. Ben White.
Tell me again. I'm in the B's. Tell me again.
It's actually in the S's because the screen name, no video. Screen name is SIE.
I'm here. What does it need to be?
Ben, and then in parentheses a W.
Got it. Okay. I appreciate your patience and your willingness to come. I know that professional development and professionally is often, this is a real hot button right now. But super important that we kind of begin with the foundation of humanity and compassion. And so I just want to slow us down a bit. And I want to kind of give you just a precursor. One, you are not going to be embarrassed in this space. You're not going to be called out in this space. My secretary just brought me lunch, y'all. I'm going to go ahead and accept that. Oh, baby cakes.
You might want to get up a little more.
Okay. Thank you, sweetheart. It's COVID free too. Just want y'all to know. Keeping it safe. But you will not be called out. This is not a space to embarrass you or to alienate you. This is not a space that is meant to reveal how woke you are or how woke you are not. This is not a space that is meant to harm you. This is a space that is about healing, a space that should be uncomfortable. It should stretch us just a bit. My encouragement for you, if that becomes a part of your experience today, what you're feeling in your body is, if it's discomfort, I encourage you to stay at the table, and I encourage you to replace judgment for curiosity. And if you'll do those two things, if you'll stay at the table and you remain curious, then when we find some middle ground, we'll be able to iron out and we'll be able to work through some of the other things that make us clam up about this work. But it is work, and we serve children every single day, and we love them, and we want what's best for them. We don't do this for the money, clearly, right? We don't do these things for the accolade or the appreciation, because sometimes it feels lonely and isolating. As a new building principal, so I am the new principal of Prescott Elementary in our district. And what I can tell you is y'all are working extremely hard. Y'all are putting it down for kids in ways that have never been done before. And you are building it, and you are flying it, and you are driving it, and you are ushering it and guiding it. And you're trying to do that with a well of love. And so today is about Rebecca and I, as your facilitators, pouring that love back into you. Racial equity work does not always feel like love, but I promise you, it is love. Because we need to be our best selves for the political climate that we're dealing with and the trauma that our babies, even though they're in middle and high school, they are still our babies. What they are showing up with needs unpacking and needs critical thought. But they need healing. They need safety. And in order for you to be able to give them something, there has to be something there. And so today is just about temperature checking, and it's about orienting ourselves to what does it mean to consciousness raise. So consciousness raising is a term that is floating around academia in beautiful ways. But I want to really center what it's going to mean for us here in Park Rose and what it's going to mean for our time together in affinity spaces. So when we think about consciousness raising, we think about people who are oppressed by the system in the same way, being able to understand those bounds and those barriers and liberating themselves from them. So those of my friends that are on in the professional development today that identify as women, we could get together in an affinity space and we could consciousness raise. Because our experience as women is a shared and collective experience, we get to unpack what does it mean to be woman or woman identifying, walking through this system, walking through Park Rose, walking through the middle and the high school. What does it mean to be woman identifying, walking in this space? If you are in this professional development and you identify as a male identified person, all of our male identified people could get together and you could consciousness raise about what does it mean to be male oriented walking through this space? What is my experience like? What privilege do I have? What privilege don't I have? And you can sit together and sharpen yourselves. And then we can drill down even further and we could actually delineate those groups by race. And if you are a Black woman in this space, then you and I could really get down to what does it mean to be not only woman identified, but woman identified and Black woman identified in this space. We would unpack different. And if you are a white woman identified and a white woman or a white person and a white woman identified, then you and Rebecca could really unpack that experience of what does that mean? And so why race-based affinity spaces are absolutely important is so that we do not do harm to one another as we are consciousness raising. Our consciousness is what we believe to be true, what we know about this work, what we know about who we are in it. And we can harm each other by asking questions that are complicated, by doing things that we mean well, but we don't know are harmful. And if we do that in spaces with other people that don't share our oppression, we harm. So it's important that we separate a bit, raise our consciousness so that when we're together in community, we understand our positionality and how to push, how to change, and how to dismantle. That is what today is about. It's about courage. So I wanted to start with that just to help you relax just a bit. We are gonna have fun because I'm a fun person and it's Friday, dadgummit. Goodness gracious. I don't know about you, but I've been waiting for Friday, okay? I need it so that I have something to give my staff, my babies, my families. We have to engage in some self-care. Before we get started for real, I wanna do something that is important to Rebecca and I, but I wanna know what soil are we on? Whose land are we on? And I wanna get to the point in this district, but in my work specifically as an abolitionist, I wanna get to the work of how do I honor and how do I acknowledge my Indigenous and Native brothers and sisters whose land this belongs to? How do I move past an acknowledgement of that land, which is really popping right now, right? Land acknowledgements are all over the place. And yes, they make us feel good because we check a box that says acknowledge the land. Okay, great. Now we're going to move into agreements. And then we're going to move into an icebreaker, right? It becomes business as usual. What I want to do at some point is give life to what does it really mean to acknowledge the land that you're on, ask for permission, build relationships. But for now, since we're new to this work, we're not going to pretend we're somewhere that we're not. We're going to acknowledge where we are and sit in that discomfort and grow. So for now, I will start with a land acknowledgement and knowing that I have to get better and that we have to do more than just acknowledge, but also heal and mend. Rebecca, do you mind if you share your screen and I can read from your screen? While she's doing that, you could just stay at the PD check-in part. While she's doing that, there is a native land app, which is where we get the opportunity to check what land are we sitting on. There is a mobile app you can download or a website you can go to. It's called Native Land. I'm gonna put it in the chat when I'm done talking. Or if you have it already, you can put it in the chat. Rebecca, can you go back one slide, babe? Happy pay, it's payday? Ooh, I love this district. Oh my God, so exciting. All right, if you are new to the space, you're just joining us, here is our PD check-in. I just want you to find the link in the chat to sign in. I am not entirely sure if our building principals drop something. If not, I will drop something in just a second once I hand it off to them for their check-ins. But for now, go ahead and rename yourselves if you're just coming into the space. You are changing your name to similar to what you're seeing on the screen with your first name, your last initial, and whether you identify as a person of color, which stands for POC, or whether you identify as a white educator, which you just put a beautiful W. Gonna give you just a second. All right, go ahead, Beck. Wes, I'll repost it as soon as I get done with the land acknowledgement. So I want you to think about the land that we're on. And this is a holistic land because each of our campuses might be a little bit different. So I just want you to think about where we are. I want you to think of the stories and the songs and the artwork that must have been spun in those snug, smoky houses over the endless months and centuries of incessant rain, the baby making and gossip and back scratching. An uncountable loss, fortune of human experience echoes across these broad waters. I want you to just look at the image for a second. Okay. Once, there was a people that were so wealthy and plump and sleek that they drank sea lion oil straight and didn't have to look for food all winter long. They danced and sang and recited stories instead. These people's upriver neighbors bent under 90-pound packs. These people just carried their big boat down to the river, piled in several tons of trade goods, of cranberry preserves, smoked salmon, dried clams, 6 or 7 kinds of vegetables, fur robes, and arrow-proof battle armor. And they paddled 100 miles or so up the river to trade. We're giving you a picture of what was life, what it might have felt and smelled and sounded like. They were the mightiest tribe in the Columbia Basin, but this way of life was doomed by the arrival of settlers, traders, and the germs endemic in the European population. I want you to notice the totem on the cabin wall, the ground, the buckets. Can you see the dog? Can you see their faces? '19th century plagues forced integration with white culture, and deliberate government policies aimed at denying them their presence around the strategically important mouth of the Columbia, which all played a role in making the modern Chinook less visible today than many other less consequential tribes. But the Chinook endure. Today, the Chinook Indian Nation, with its headquarters and base center on the eastern shore of Willapa Bay, is engaged in a concerted effort to win White House support for a restoration of its official status as a federally recognized tribe. I want you to pay attention to the drum. I want you to hear the beat. I want you to see the feathers, the markings on the wall, the wood, the floor. I want you to dig deep. My apologies, Sarah. Are you all having a hard time hearing me? Okay. I will try to speak up, Sarah. I'm ready, back. As we transition into thinking about our focuses for today, I want to just give you a moment. What I am decentering here is speed and rushing. I know it's Friday. I know you've worked all week. I know you've worked hard. And I know this work is important. And I know this healing is important. So I'm going to just give us a moment to just be. As you think about the Cowlitz Chinook land, if you think about your land, I'm going to share a video with you that is going to provide to you what our key focuses are for today. And then I'm going to come back, tighten that up. Once I'm done with the video and I tighten that up a bit, I'm going to pass it off to our administrators to introduce themselves. While they do that, I'm going to go ahead and watch the chat. I'll respond to your private messages, and you are more than welcome to private message me. I love those, but feel free to message me totally in the chat, but also know that I'm walking and chewing gum at the same time, so my responses might be delayed. And then after that, we're going to kind of do a little something. So I want to give it a second. Oh, thank you for letting me share. Okay. Oh, good Lord. I almost ended the whole thing.
If you've ever journeyed in some of the most hopeless circumstances, you really see hopelessness? Like if you've seen it, not studied it, not went to visit it, if you've ever lived in hopelessness, you know how beautiful hope is. I think in order to grow a rose in concrete, it's about cultivating that seed of hope. The concrete represents obstacles and barriers, substance creation in the favor of one group to the detriment of another. Concrete people cold, man. Playing many names.
Hey, Nicole, can you post that link in the chat? It's a little choppy for some of us.
The tricky thing about hopelessness
Thank you.
is that its narrative is everywhere. Our young folks are subject to this time and time and time again. They could look around and see the manifestation, the reality of hopelessness. You can't come with some fairy tale, everything is gonna be okay. It don't work that way, especially when they know otherwise, especially when they get to see how systems limit their access to hope. That's that fairy tale hope. It takes something realer than that to touch families, to touch lives.
When we talk about self-hate, the question is, how do those kids learn self-hate? How do they learn to hate themselves?
You speak it from ground zero, where it's at. That hope is critically engaged. It observes, it recognizes, it acknowledges, and it validates where that person may be in their journey of pursuing hope. But it's got to be real. Some days you got to get tired, you got to get fatigued, because you got to give it your all. You have to disrupt hopelessness in every angle. Do it creative, do it through the arts, do it through the lesson, do it through gardening, do it through nature, do it through rhyme, do it however you can, but disrupt hopelessness. Passion.
Again, what's the opposite of self-hate? So then that's the bigger question, which we need to start figuring out. How do we start to develop self-love? That's the true question. How do we develop self-love?
Every day we open our doors and receive them, and love them, and hug them, and show them that this is a place where you can totally be you. Every day they hear a different narrative, one that builds their self-esteem, builds their reflective self-esteem so they can see themselves in their brothers and their sisters. I want them to really understand that it's what's inside of you that matters most. And what's inside of you isn't predicated on where you come from or your parents' income or what you've seen or limitation. Now, what's inside of you is there. All those things can be barriers to achieving it, but the value is still there. Speak to the power that's within them, the power of their imagination, the power of what they do know, the power of their intentions. And you speak to that thing and you nurture it every single day. I really hope this, that you use your creativity, you use your passion, and believe in doing the impossible. Growing Roses and Concrete is about that work. Awakening the learner, awakening that thing inside of them. Why am I here? What am I here to do? The world changes once you find that out. Once you know your why, nothing can stop you. You guys are superheroes. It doesn't take levitation. It doesn't take magic to be a superhero. Sometimes superhero just means having a very super extraordinary belief in your ability to solve a problem. Nothing can stop you from doing it. They're closer to actualizing their own possibility. They're finally starting to get to that place where they can see things not for just how they are, but how they could be. And make the could be their will be. I want you to know this, that within you is the solution. Don't stop imagining. Don't stop dreaming. Do not stop trying. Couple social responsibility, social justice. If you partner that, always aligning with their why, creating a whole new school of young folks who will rise up and become hope dealers, become agents of hope, will always be looking for the crack in the concrete for the rose. That's what we're after.
So yes, I will drop the link to our video in the chat. What I want that to do is to preface why we are here. When I think about roses that grow from concrete, we think about what is my positionality in that? I'm not sure what I was doing the day before this, but in this moment, while I'm on this campus with these children, I want to disrupt hopelessness. And it is feeling sometimes really hopeless, right? Our children are battling with not only a COVID and a pandemic of what that means in their lifetime, but they're also potentially dealing with trauma. They're also potentially dealing with, right, we just had wildfires, and we dealing with poverty, dealing with homelessness and houselessness. And none of that is even comparative to whatever losses they might have sustained, whatever disruptions they might have endured to make it to you every single day. So who are we? We must be the cracks in the concrete. We must be the thing that breaks up the system so that our babies can push through to the light. So how do I position myself to break the concrete? That means I have to get my work. I have to racially identify my development. I gotta do that. I don't get to just put the Black Lives Matter sign in my yard anymore. I don't get to just say, si se puede, or I don't get to just say, this is an ICE-free space. I have to put my body over that hole. What does that look like at the secondary level? Because I know at the elementary level, I am trying to make sure that what they are ready for is you. That means that we have to do this in collaboration and in partnership with one another. We cannot leave each other behind. This work has to be done in synergy, no pun intended. It just means as we're working together, each of us has to come along. This is what we are doing this year. We are disrupting hopelessness, regardless of age. And we are going to persist as the cracks in their concrete, because we know what the system produces. We know what it was designed to produce. We know we come into a burning building every day and attempt to get children out. We are hope dealers. So it is our role right now to restore hope in you, remind you of your why, and then challenge you with the obligation of developing your racial identity so that even when we mean well, we stand before children as our best selves, our babies, our teenagers, our young adults, in the best condition we can to do them no harm. Because when we harm them, we're also harming ourselves. So I'm gonna pause for a moment, and I'm gonna give our leaders an opportunity to introduce themselves. And we're gonna go in a specific order, but we don't have to because we're dismantling dominance, right? So we can do this however we want because this is our space, this is our hope. We are the cracks in the concrete. So I'm gonna allow Rebecca to, she's, okay. She must be doing something. So I'm gonna share my screen and pull the presentation up. We have, yeah, there it is. Okay, give me 1 second. I'm just gonna share my screen. And Miss Annette, if you wanna go first or not, I'll move the slides based on who introduces themselves. Don't laugh at the pictures, okay? I took them off the internet.
Yeah, don't laugh at the picture. Thanks, Nicole. My name is Annette Sweeney, and I am the principal at Park Rose Middle School.
Miss Harrison, or not. Somebody else?
See, mine is not from the internet.
There she is.
Can everybody hear? Did I just hear Mrs. Harrison say something? No? I thought I did. Okay. Can we come back? Molly, do you want to go?
Yeah, great picture. Thanks,
Nicole. Hi, everyone. Good to see you. Thanks for being here today. And Nicole, thank you for your time as well. Oh, I'm the high school.
Hey, everybody. Good afternoon. Andre Goodlow, assistant principal at the high school. Just want to say thank you guys for going on this journey with us. Looking forward to all this work, and I think there's no time but now to try to come together as a district, K-12, and engage in the same type of work. So appreciate you guys being here.
Hey everybody, my name is Trevor Greer and I'm one of the assistant principals at the high school.
Hey, Ryan Gallagher, assistant principal at the high school. And then thanks Nicole for leading this work.
I didn't get a chance to put yours in a circle, my bad.
It's all right.
Is Ms. Harrison on? Can I go back to her? Okay, she might be on Park Rose's Wi-Fi, so we'll let that slide. All right, okay. Beck, I don't know if you're back. So I wanna, okay.
I see Miss Harrison unmuted. Maybe
okay.
Introduce herself.
I'm not sure if you guys can hear me. I don't know what's going on. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Nicole, be quiet. Just hi. Hi, everyone. I'm Antoinette Harrison. I'm the assistant principal at the middle school.
I be messing with her all the time because we are in affinity space because I love that. So I appreciate her letting me pick on her a bit. All right. So how did we get here? Ooh, when I came to Park Rose and I started at Prescott, my other colleagues at the elementary level asked what my racial equity plan was gonna look like. I am a huge racial equity enthusiast and really big on family and community engagement, wanting schools to feel more like community schools and resource centers than transactional spaces where babies are dropped off and picked up. And when I started to think about the racial equity work, I observed where my teachers were, where we were as a district, and I felt that for me, what we needed now was posture. We have the language, we understand the frameworks, we know about fragility, we understand about our bias, and now I feel like it is best that we get in an abolitionist's a posture that helps us dismantle and become those cracks in the concrete. So I kind of looked around a bit. I've been doing some work in my previous role as an educator with Rebecca Greenidge. She and I did some work in PPS last year around racial equity, and I got a chance to see Rebecca facilitate with white folks and white-bodied folks in spaces to help heal. And I really became a fan of the way in which she not only held with compassion and critical love, but she also held with accountability. So today, I am going to let her introduce herself and her journey and how she got here and what we can expect for what's next.
Thank you, Nicole.
Can I ask a favor, Rebecca?
Yes.
Can we switch? Can you share your screen so I can work on this chat and get folks in their affinity spaces? I can't do that if y'all can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I apologize for the quick, abrupt share. So Rebecca will share and I will help respond to some of these chats and things.
I don't even need to share my screen quite yet. I'm just gonna tell a couple stories. I'm so glad to be here with you all. I like seeing all your faces. When we're in share screen mode, I don't get to see as many of your faces. So give me a quick check-in. Thumbs up, thumbs to the side, thumbs down. How are you doing with this so far? Okay, I see a lot of thumbs up on my screen at least. Awesome, I know there's like 8 billion screens here, but thank you. I am Rebecca Greenidge, and I'm the co-founder of Jor Consulting, and I'm excited to be here. We've already begun work with the elementary team, and that is already amazing. And we're seeing tremendous vulnerability in that group. And so I wanted to talk to you just a little bit about who I am and where I got to where I am. And that's far from where I want to be. But I grew up in Eastern Oregon. I'm from small town. Grew up in a town of 19,000 people. The population sign as you drive into the town hasn't changed since I was a young child. And so very small town. And I grew up with folks that thought that all people were the same, felt that we were supposed to love all people, that everyone experienced the same things. There was no such thing as race. That was the human race. What we know now is that's a colorblind ideology, but we didn't have words for it back then, 20 plus years ago. And so that was the way I was taught. Anytime I noticed injustice, anytime I experienced things that didn't seem right to me as a child, children often see these things. And I was often shushed. I was told, those things don't matter to us. One story that I often tell about that maybe will pertain to the secondary group is when I was in middle school, 8th grade social studies class, we were allowed to pick a project, write a report on any humanitarian issue that we wanted to pick. And I picked Cabrini Green. I don't even know how I knew about Cabrini Green in little old LeGrand, Oregon, but I did.
Cabrini Green?
Cabrini Green is a housing project in Chicago, and it's the place where city officials, white city officials, did tremendous injustice to the Black community in Chicago. And I found out about Cabrini Green, and I wanted to do my project on Cabrini Green, but we had been told that we had to be able to cite 10 sources on our project. Well, this is pre-internet, y'all, so I'm dating myself a little bit here, but I think many of you will be able to understand, like, we're looking for periodicals, we're looking for, Time Magazine, Newsweek articles, and we never talked about the injustice of whose voice gets published. We never talked about how articles get established, who gets to write about their stories. But I could only find 9 sources to cite about Cabrini Green, 9 articles. And I went to my teacher and I said, hey, I really care about this, and I think it's a really big issue, but I can only find 9 sources. And my teacher said, well, 10 is like a minimum. If you can't find 10 sources about something, it probably doesn't mean it's that big of a deal. So you need to find something else to write about. So oftentimes the stories about race that happen for white-bodied folks is not just what happened, but it's the meaning we make out of it. And so as a child, I'm asking these questions. As a child, I'm noticing things that don't seem right. As a child, I'm seeing things that don't appear to be in alignment with what my family said our values were. And as I'm asking those questions, I'm being told that those things don't matter, that those subjects don't need my attention, that I shouldn't write about them, that they must not be important. There's not enough sources to cite. And so the meaning I made from that over time is that as a white person, I don't need to ask those questions. Race doesn't matter to me. Those things don't have value for me to be discovering. And that maybe my eyes don't work. Maybe what I think I'm seeing isn't what I'm seeing. And so by the time I moved to Portland, I'm 19, and I am living a completely segregated life, and I'm not asking questions anymore. And I'm living among white people as we can in Portland. I'm working with white people as we can in Portland. All my friends are white people as we can in Portland. And I meet my partner, Jomo, who identifies as Black West Indian, when I was 27. So 8 years later, 8 more years of social conditioning is what I would say now. 8 more years of feeling like these stories were not something for me to care about. And I meet him, and in the first 2 weeks that we were talking with each other, he gave me a book. He gave me 2 books. One of them was called Countering the Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys by Juwanja Kunjufu. And the opening sentence of that book is the definition of genocide. And then it goes into a 1.5-page bullet point list of how we are enacting genocide on Black boys in our school system in the United States. Particularly 4th grade Black boys is where the book focuses. I threw the book across the room. I was like in a total state of shock, which that's what white people do. And I called Jomo and I said, "What? Are you kidding me?" And he said, "I don't know why you're calling me. I need you to put down the phone and I need you to pick back up the book and I need you to keep reading because you and I have zero future if you can't understand this stuff." And so I kept reading and I really haven't stopped since. He is my first and greatest teacher in the work that I am honored to be able to do. And I don't arrive at the work that I do without relationships with Black, Brown, and Indigenous people. And I'm grateful. I have been challenged. I've been strengthened. I've been held to account. I have been demanded that I heal, that I go back to those stories in my childhood and discover what meaning I made, and I unpack that and go, that's not what should have happened. And it's not true. It's not true that those subjects don't matter. It's not true that my eyes don't work and that I wasn't seeing the right things. It's not true that my family lived in alignment with our values. We lived out of alignment with the values that we stated that we held. And so today, the work that I get to do is with white-bodied folks to do that same process, to engage that same journey that I have been on for now almost 14 years. It is an imperfect journey. And when it's done at the root of where these things enter, where our social conditioning enters, it can be really painful. And I'm already seeing in the elementary teams that are going through the program that white folks will be going through as your PD for secondary. I'm seeing that vulnerability. I'm seeing those stories. I'm seeing those, that unpacking that has to be done. And I just affirm what Nicole already shared about why we go into race-based affinity, because we have different needs. We have different needs about what we need from the space. And to continue to center a white need of education and understanding how this stuff happened does not meet needs for Black, Brown, and Indigenous people. And so white folks, we have to do that work and we have to start looking at ourselves in a really deep way. And we have to make sure that we don't require or demand that Black, Brown, and Indigenous people be in spaces with us to do that. That's for us to do. And I'm honored to get to do that work. It is life-altering work when we do it with integrity and authenticity. So I'm grateful to be in this space with you. I want to share my screen at this point. Thank you for listening to a couple of my stories. You're going to hear more of my stories, those of you that will be walking unwavering with me. I'm big about stories. Let me get to the right screen here.
Rebecca will also drop the names of those books in the chat once we're at a stopping point.
So I brought with me today just an idea that I want to offer you all that I'm really seeing in our world and particularly in education. And it's this idea of liminal space and using liminal space as an agent of justice. So what is liminal space? Liminal is a word that means threshold. It is mainly used in anthropology. It's often called the space between, and it refers to the moments or times of transition and change that are all around us in life, leaving home, moving, changing careers, a pandemic, uprising, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Every week it's more. These places and periods where change is happening are the moments when other big shifts become more possible, where there are a lot more opportunities for change than usual. And this comes from work by Dave Gray, and these examples are examples that he gives. You know, you think about when you first left home for the first time, wherever you were going, You think about, your places where you would get food, your places that you were going to live, your the places that you would shower. Things changed, and as everything's up in the air, there's a lot that can be kind of shifted in those moments. Same thing with moving. If you've ever moved across town, your pathways to work change, your grocery stores that you frequent change, your gas station changes. The way that you are going to engage community activities, the parks that you take your children to, all of that changes. And in that moment of change is when we have this opportunity to really maximize what's possible in that moment. And we're in one of those spaces. We are in a liminal space moment. So we know who we were prior to March of this year. And then a whole lot has happened, and it's really messy. Pandemic happened, and closing of schools happened, and trying to figure out immediately how to move to online learning or distance learning or whatever we were calling it at that moment. Then George Floyd was murdered, and we have an uprising all summer long. We have federal agents that come into our city and try to invade our city. We have fires. We've lost a justice, an agent of justice that was important. We are in a voting year, an election year. And so how we move through this liminal space is going to be messy. It's going to be unpredictable. It's going to be imperfect. And we're still moving through. And at some point we will come through on the other side to who we will be, but we don't yet know what that is. And so I'm really proud of the Park Rose School District. We went from Nicole and I having a conversation about doing this work in just her school to going, okay, maybe it's going to be all of elementary. And then immediately it went to, and plus all of secondary. And so we went from 25 people to 230 plus in the amount of a few weeks, which is a lot. It's a huge shift, but kudos to your district, because your district said, okay, your district said, we don't want to play equity anymore. We don't want to keep going to these conversations and pretending that what we're doing is working when we know it's not. And so race-based affinity gets us more to the root, and it's where change happens quicker, but it's also harder. And so I'm just saying that at the beginning so that you all know kind of what's coming. And we'll keep talking about that. But we're about to get real messy in really beautiful ways. And so just come on for the ride. We're going to move into our first race-based affinity groups. Nicole's holding up a couple fingers in just a second.
Okay, so I want to just make sure that you have followed the direction. Thank you so much for the welcomes to Park Rose in the chat. Thank you. I love it here. This is it feels good. It feels great. It feels like home. And I'm having a good time. I want to make sure that I have you in the correct group. And here's why I cannot make a mistake here. And we do not center perfectionism, right? That's a lot of pressure to live up to being perfect. So I'm not trying to be perfect in this moment. What I am trying to do is make sure that I don't inadvertently harm someone by putting a person of color in the white affinity space, or by putting a white person in the people of color group, we call them the BIPOC educator group. This is super important because when we get in those spaces, I'm not going to be able to see who's in the white bodied space because I won't be there with you. I'm going to be with the educators of color. So I'm going to have you do a double check. Thank you so much. I've been privately messaging you if I don't know how you racially identify. I'm only going to do this for about 5 more minutes or so because y'all so secondary teams, it's not elementary where I got to give wait time in the same amount. So So I'm gonna assume that if you are not fulfilling your, putting your racial identification, that either you can't hear me or something else is happening. And what will happen is when we break out, you will stay in this space and you will look at a black screen. And okay, I think I got that changed in the chat. Thank you for private messaging me to help.
I didn't wrap that up very well.
Oops, I gave y'all 6 minutes plus.
I know. I took all the time to the very last second.
Okay,
so can I just say really quick to my folks, I'm gonna drop a link in the chat where you can go enroll. And then you'll, like I told you before, you'll do that after we're all done today. And then if you have any questions, I'm gonna drop my email as well. You are welcome to email me. Otherwise, you'll start getting emails, you'll get that link, and then you can get into the program. And then we'll just be in touch, okay? Thank you all.
Okay, Beck, I'm gonna let you introduce your next piece, but for right this very second, y'all, I'm gonna drop the link to the PD sign-in form, the spreadsheet. Can you just sign in? This is not also for your administrators. This is also for the listserv. Just in case I missed anybody, we can do it a different way, but I also wanna just cover our bases and get you while you're here. I've dropped that in the chat. It's all yours, Beck.
Okay, and I've dropped the enrollment link as well. All right, so we're gonna close up our time today with just acknowledging that we're going into this work that is gonna be different than what you all have done before, and that in this moment in time, that this is not going to be perfect. So perfectionism doesn't work, and it's actually part of how the system of oppression works on us. And so Tema Okun has done a lot of work on how systems of oppression work, and one of the things that she says is that an antidote to perfectionism is to create a culture of appreciation where the organization takes time to make sure people's efforts are appreciated. So we're going to practice culture of appreciation. And there's a reason why we're offering this in this very first PD. And I want to just really highlight this for you because it's already showing up in the elementary team, is that we're doing this on purpose because we know it's going to be imperfect. And so when you are feeling some kind of way about things are not showing up very perfectly in this, come back to this and just go, what can I appreciate? How can I experience gratitude for what's happening so far, even as I'm frustrated? So in cultural appreciation practice, we're gonna use the sentence starter, I'm appreciating, and put a name in there because, and say one sentence about something that you're appreciating about the person. That's called passing it to you. So when it's passed to you, then you can pass it on. You pick the next person that you are gonna pass it on to. There's no repeat, so we can't heap appreciation all on one person in this. We're gonna pass it around, and then not everyone will be able to go. And so these can be things that you saw today in the chat box, things that you heard somebody share, whatever it is, maybe things that are happening in your class this week or in your school this week, whatever it is. So just, this is what we're gonna start with. And so we're just gonna ask somebody to start us off, and we'll go like this until 2:55. So we've got about 10 minutes or so.
I can start us off. I appreciate Sarah's willingness to tell a dad joke. I'm going to pass it off to Elena.
So it gets passed to Sarah. So Sarah receives appreciation. So now Sarah shares an appreciation.
I appreciate the processing time given for this content.
So Sarah, you're going to need to pick a specific person to give an appreciation about.
Oh, okay.
That can be somebody in your school, a colleague, somebody you heard on the call today.
Is it supposed to be like something to do with the training or just in general? I appreciate Maria Furman for taking me up on collaborating for ELL support with the 8th grade humanities team.
I appreciate, even though the video was a little choppy, I really appreciated the spirit of that video and just the message behind that of sort of ending this hopelessness and that kind of feeling that a lot of our students, I think that's, if we start from there, I think that's really important. And I pass this to Erin.
So Maria, pause just a second. The appreciation of the video would be about Nicole sharing the video. And so then it's being passed to Nicole.
Okay, good. Nicole.
I want to appreciate Rebecca, so you can model what you're trying to do here, for standing alongside and helping to provide a frame for how we do a real transformative change in education. Thank you.
I'm appreciating Miss Antoinette for the humor and just letting us peek into the banter between you and Nicole.
Talking.
We can't hear you.
She on that internet.
Stop it. Can you hear me now?
There we go. Now we can. Now we can.
Okay. I just want to appreciate Deb Robinson. I know she's not in my building anymore and I really want her to come back, but I want to appreciate Deb. Deb reaches out to me and just checking to see how I'm doing. And Deb, you don't have to do that. And I really appreciate that. And I really do miss you already.
I told y'all I was fragile. Thank you, Antoinette. I want to appreciate Alejandro for being a first-year teacher. I applaud you for coming into this profession. There may be others that are out there, but I did not hear your story today. So Alejandro, there you go.
Thank you very much. I didn't expect that, so I was kind of planning on coasting by knocking a little bit, but that's okay. I wanted to, let's see, I appreciate Allie Marks. I think she's here, right? She's done a lot of work with the new teachers and also with also doing a lot of like buy-in into this kind of work too. And she checks up a lot, which sometimes I need because sometimes I'm a procrastinator and it's just like, it's been a struggle. You're just coming off a life of like grad school and not having like consistent anything to like, oh, now you have a job and an income, so get your life together, but it doesn't feel that way. So anyways, I'm gonna stop talking. That's who I appreciate.
Alejandro is a diamond and he works best under pressure, if anybody wants to know. I'm going to appreciate Alina Harwood, who is a fellow feeler. So I know that journey and I just adore you and I'm so proud of you for stepping up as a leader in your second year in the building.
I also wasn't anticipating being appreciated in this. I'm gonna thank or appreciate Elena Langdahl for helping me to teach 6th graders how to hyperlink things into documents, because that was a big challenge for me this week. Thank you, Elena.
My pleasure. It was fun, hyperlink with 6th graders. I'm gonna appreciate, can I appreciate 2 people? It's kind of, I have to. Sophie and Amelia, I have to give you a shout out for throwing t-shirts and getting wet with me and just having so much fun on the Wednesday pickup. That sounded bad, didn't it? Yeah. Okay.
Thanks, Elena.
You want to go first, Sophie?
Sure. Yes, I appreciate both of you as well for standing out in the rain with me for many hours with those shirts. I honestly just want to thank Annette for hiring me so last minute, because
Like, this has been just such a wonderful transition to moving to Portland and coming to Park Rose. I feel so supported, and I love this team. So thanks.
Do I still get to share my appreciation person? Okay. I know he's going to get upset with me for doing this, but I have to appreciate Kurt Cosby because he is dealing with Soph and I and helping us figure out all of the teaching tools that Park Rose has to offer, since I'm not an actual teacher, I'm a substitute, and I'm not sure how to do some things. And Kurt has been a solid rock for the PE team at Park Rose Middle School for Sophie and I. So thanks, Kurt.
Sophie, thank you. I appreciate your appreciation. I want to appreciate you for coming to work at Park Rose Middle School. We are thrilled to have you, as well as Amelia. So I want to throw it to, I actually want to take a moment to appreciate Whitney Alfrey for all the work she has done over the summer to guide our coaches and to guide us and to support all of us through this new uncharted territory that we're going through. Thank you, Whitney.
Awkward. Okay, I would like to appreciate Sarah McIntyre. I love that she reaches out and is really working really hard to make sure that those ELD students at the high school get everything they need. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Whitney. I want to appreciate Whitney also for always helping me. And I want to appreciate Shannon Kirkpatrick because at lunchtime, she and I and Doina sit together, and Doina too, and we like workshop lessons, and Shannon's really good at helping me think about how to make my lessons higher level and helping me think about good questions to pose to the kids. So I really love that time. Thanks, Shannon.
Thanks, Sarah. That was fabulous. I would really like to appreciate Narissa. She has made my transition to Avid 9 so easy and is like always great about sharing her stuff and has such amazing stuff. And she's just like a total rock star pro.
Shannon, I'm so glad you're on our team. I want to appreciate Wes because I can't imagine beginning as a first-year teacher online. And you have been like unwaveringly positive in our English department chats. And like, I just can tell it's you on the text message. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you very much. So I want to shout out my 9th grade teaching buddy, Josh. I feel like we've been killing it, like Kobe and Shaq almost, just rolling out these first couple weeks as a duo. We alternate in between sending back resources to each other and like planning the week. So I'm weeks 1 and 3, he's 2 and 4. That way we're like always a week ahead. And yeah, I couldn't have asked for better, honestly. So shout out to you. I'm Kobe, of course. Nah. Go ahead, Josh.
Josh, will you go ahead and close it out for us?
I
With
don't
our
think
final appreciation.
Josh might not be with us, but can we go back to Cosby?
Yeah, let's do it.
Not really sure why you had to do that, Andre.
I'm glad.
I kind of got out of it. Annette just jumped on there real quick, and I was really thankful for Annette for taking over right there. And man, there's so many shout outs. Shout out to Sophie and Amelia. They're helping me out while I'm doing daddy daycare at home right now. First time with that. But I got to give a shout out to Jon Snow and Britt Christiansen because they are like rocks for me, and they are the people that I can vent to. So I appreciate both of you.
Awesome. Thank you for closing it out. I was going to come back to you and I missed it. So thank you, Andre, for bringing that back up. All right, y'all. So my last thing is I'm just going to drop a survey for you all to give us your feedback about this PD. and then we'll let Nicole close us out. Thank you all for having me here. I appreciate you all, and I'll see you inside of Unwavering for those of you who will be with me on this journey.
And as you fill out your PD form, just from your elementary side of things, I want to thank you so much for allowing us to be in this space. I'm so excited to be on this journey with you. I hope you become hope dealers so that you can break up the concrete so that our babies can push through to the light. So enjoy your journey. It is transformative. It will be hard. It's supposed to be, but this is dangerous work, like Dr. Stovall says. This is dangerous work. You didn't enter a field to be safe. You entered a field to be different and to make one. So please do your work. And I'll see our educators of color in our affinity spaces. And last, but certainly most importantly, not least, go Lakers. Have a great day, everyone. I'm gonna mute you all so you can't say anything.